I want to see the
Phantom
MMO.
Blade Zero Extreme Mode? What is Extreme Mode?
In this Phantom Blade Zero video, we're going to be taking a look at the
extreme mode. Let's go.
difficulty of the game that was added during Tokyo Game Show's demo, which I recently played a couple days ago in Japan. And this is absolutely absurdly hard. I had mentioned in our previous video that Phantom Blade Zero was a little
Hard
bit
in
on
the
the
sense
easy
how?
side.
Is it just
Well,
that
we're playing
bosses just do critically damage or
extreme
something?
difficulty, that is no longer
Because we've seen those a million times before.
the case. So we're going to get into that in just a second. You may notice that this gameplay footage looks familiar. These are the same 3 bosses in an area of the game that you saw in the Gamescom demo. But this time we're going to be showcasing most of it on the extreme difficulty with some comparisons to the hard difficulty, which I also recorded, and also showcasing 2 new weapons. One of them is a curved sword that kind of attacks quickly like you might expect it to.
This is really
kind of allows you like quick slashes, and even seems to have a bleed effect that triggers if you hit the enemy or boss enough times, as you'll see like a huge chunk of their health rip off with this like bloody explosion if you hit them enough times quickly.
Okay, this combat looks a
So
little bit more
added.
polished.
And then there's also like a dual circular blades kind of paired weapon that attacks very, very quickly.
That looks like Elden Ring's one.
Combo, sometimes you can even throw those blades over a distance, so if you dodge backward, you can like still put in damage into the boss over a distance very, very quickly. And a dual circular blades kind of like a huge chunk of their health rip off with this like bloody explosion if you hit them enough times quickly. So
that's bleed.
And then there's
from
also
Elden
like
Ring.
a dual circular blades kind of paired weapon that attacks very, very quickly. And when you finish off your combo, sometimes you can even throw those blades over a distance. So if you dodge backward, you can like still put in damage into the boss from a good distance.
It's like that's cool.
Yeah.
They also
like
showcase
Dancer in
a
Final
new
Fantasy
ranged weapon, or
14.
at least one that I didn't notice was in the previous demo, which is like the Dancing Lion, which allows you to kind of put on the Dancing Lion helmet and
That's
just
cool.
like emit fire in all different directions. You can
Yeah. Like the chatter here said, all of these abilities are in Elden Ring. All of them are.
point the direction that you want the fire to blow, and it's probably
Every
pretty
single
good
one.
with multiple enemies, I would imagine. Although I didn't manage
Didn't do any damage.
to
Of
use
course
it
it
super
doesn't.
effectively in my time playing. I just didn't give it a lot of thought, really. Okay, so moving on to the extreme difficulty.
Yeah, let me see.
This is
Let me
a
see
setting
what's this.
that the creative director told me will not be unlocked by default and will be unlocked after playing through the game once.
Okay.
So this effectively could be
This is like
considered
New
your
Game
New Game
Plus.
Plus difficulty if you move on to it. I don't know if there's
Wait, does that mean this
New
game
Game
has a
Plus,
difficulty
but
slider?
this difficulty won't be unlocked until you play through the game one time, so you're not going to be able to
It seems
start
like
off
it.
with extreme.
See, like, I just really hope, like, here's the problem, is that I think extreme modes and hard modes should be, well, actually, what I think is there shouldn't be any extreme modes or hard modes at all, and I think there should only be one level of difficulty, and everybody should have the same experience. That's my preferred
Let me think how I feel about that. I think it depends. Like, it's super depending. Because in terms of difficulty, if the game is well polished, then if the game is difficult, then it's kind of okay. But even then, people just want to sit back and relax. So I think it's a better option to have a difficulty slider, but I think they should both exist. Like, there should be games without difficulty slider, and there should be games with the difficulty slider.
experience. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And I think that players that are good at a game will figure out ways to make the game more challenging on their own without the developer needing to do it themselves, like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, right? My opinion. I think difficulty modes are trash. That being said,
I don't think so. I think difficulty modes are necessary. Because in Wukong, there is no difficulty mode, right? But there is that early game strange boss, the monk, the green monk, completely stonewalls your progress for like the next 4 hours. And if you're unlucky, that's the first boss you will ever face. You know, in that scenario, people will just rage quit and then they refund the game in the Steam within 2 hours. You know? So you gotta play it smart. If there is no difficulty, I don't really mind that because I play Souls like for my living. But I would say there should be a gradual increase in difficulty instead of just this random spike in difficulty. Like there is a random boss just annihilates you for the next 5 hours. That's not fun, you know.
If you're going to have a difficulty mode, make it to
Yeah.
where the bosses don't just have more health and do more damage. Give them
Yeah.
new abilities. Give them, like, you know, more mobs.
Yes.
Like, I hate to say this because the game is such a piece of fucking shit. But Dark Souls 2 did a great job with New Game Plus.
Really? But I think, yeah, that's true. I will agree with that because the more difficulty the boss gets, the more abilities he will unlock and the more combos he can do. Yeah, that will be for more interesting fight against. Yes, that is true. Uh, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Straight up.
They added in new mobs, more monsters, more challenges, and it was a lot.
The reason why I think he hits the difficulty slider with this boss with bigger numbers is I think he played Jedi Survivor, I think. And all they did in that game is not fix the bosses, the frog boss. It just two shots you. That's it.
lot better. New movesets,
You
yeah,
know?
exactly.
It just makes
New
people
weapons,
rage.
yes.
There are some things I noticed about Extreme, and then there are other things the creative director mentioned to me while I was playing. And first of all, it seems like the parry timing for the blue flashes and the dodge timing for the red flashes is much tighter. Felt like it was more difficult to pull these off and get the slowed time effect. And a lot of times I was just outright like it was more difficult to pull these off.
I think they shouldn't reduce the timer at all. Like, what the fuck? It comes in a microsecond. Look at this.
Red flashes is much tighter. Felt like it was more difficult to pull these off and get the slowed time effect. And a lot of times I was just outright trying to...
I wonder how consistent the parry is because I have to feel it in order to judge it. But if the parry timing is janky as fuck, and if you have a tighter parry, that's gonna suck.
to just get
Straight
a
up.
reflect off at all, or get a dodge off at all, instead of
Not to mention the attack comes way faster after the blue.
trying to time it perfectly.
It's hard to figure out
I'll
when
be
you have
honest,
to do the
I kind
parry.
of don't like that. I don't
Yeah.
like that because it feels gamey. That's my opinion. I think that you should have a different vector of difficulty rather than having mechanics function differently.
A lot of times I would just die to these bosses anyway. Secondly, the health pools and damage that these bosses
Yeah, it's just a lazy way to make the difficulty. It's artificial. All you just did was reduce the parry window timer in the parry animation. That's it. It's lazy. Yeah.
doesn't seem to have been increased. And when I was talking with the
Really?
creative director of
What
the
the
game,
fuck?
he mentioned that the difference between hard and extreme isn't the stats of the boss. It's not these things. It's the actual AI has been tweaked. And when you actually look at the gameplay of...
In extreme mode, they just input read you.
Fuck you.
You want to heal? Boom, bitch. Nope. It's the same as like how Ishin, you know, Ishin does that fucking impale move. If you gourd in Sekiro, or like the the Crucible Knight goes for the sword impale. If you go and try to
Yeah, I think that's complete dog shit. Like any game that input reads you is complete garbage in my opinion. Straight up. Like it's just garbage. Like at that point you are not fighting anything. You are fighting a fucking AI at that rate. You are fighting a bot. Like it's like a freaking trap at that point. You know? It's like a rat trap. It sucks. I don't like that. Input read garbage, straight up. It's not like you can deal with it or anything. It just sucks. You know, it's frustrating and annoying. I think Wukong did that too. I am so mad when Wukong did it. It's so annoyed. It's not fun.
The boss in hard mode versus the gameplay of the boss in extreme, you can kind of notice a few things. The first thing that you're going to notice is that on extreme, bosses don't just let you attack into the back of them like repeatedly, like you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row without doing anything. So you can really rip off huge chunks of health in hard mode, but on extreme, you tend to turn around pretty quickly out of this and get back to attacking you. So you kind of got to be on the ready to go on to the defense very, very quickly at a moment's notice.
So this means when I play this game, I need to get a bigger weapon that'll stagger them more if I play on extreme difficulty. That makes sense,
Yes.
sure.
True. I think it kind of Sekiro plays like that too. Sekiro, the bosses are, I think it's Sekiro mechanic. But once again, the parry has to be on spot.
Notice what you can.
Otherwise, the game is going to suck.
So you can be comboing away and go immediately to defending. But you got to be ready for it.
But because by the looks of it, the only mode of defense you have is just your parry and your dodge.
If you expect to fight the same way when you got bosses back to you,
I need a bigger
you're going to
stick.
be in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Secondly, it feels like the window to attack these bosses is a lot less, meaning that they attack you more often, putting you on the defensive a lot more often, making you have to parry and dodge their attacks more in order to win fights.
I think in order to fix that, Sekiro did a good job once again. They will never give you attack them window that much, but when you parry them, their poise will drop significantly. You know, you either go one route or by the looks
rather
of it,
than you being to play a bit
when
more
you parry,
aggressively. You
it
can
doesn't
still
look
play
like his
aggressively
voice
if you're
breaking.
good, but I feel like the vast majority of players when they're
Oh,
playing
it does. It seems like it does. So that's a good idea.
on the extreme
Smart
difficulty
move.
the first time are going to be put a little bit more on the back foot, and they're going to have to get their parry timing down. They're going to have to get their dodge timing down a bit more because these things will become more important in extreme difficulty.
I wish they didn't stun. It seems like they are not stunned at all. Look at this.
And then
I think all that makes sense. Like, yeah, of course, that's the way it should be. I think that bosses that don't give you time to heal at all, like, that can be kind of unfun to deal with. That's, like, my personal opinion. It's like, fuck, right? Like, I can't get a heal. It's, like, kind of...
At that point, that's a no-hit run. Like, what the fuck? Are you stupid? I know it's an extreme mode, but I'm not doing a no-hit run. Let me do some mistakes and then bounce back. Like, Jesus Christ.
Stressful to play, but
yeah, it's just
it's
sucks
always
to
like
play.
a middle ground, right?
Yeah. You gotta have a little bit of a window. At least to heal, dude. That's miserable.
This is, as somebody who... I cannot express how good of a game I think Blasphemous 1 and 2 is. Seeing this boss makes me so happy.
Demo is that he
It's
tends
so
to
good.
do feints where like he'll spin.
Yeah,
and
look at it.
Looks like he's going to do an attack, but then he spins again, and then he looks like he's going to do attack, or maybe he doesn't attack, or he changes up his attack. And that's because the way the AI is designed in extreme mode is that the AI is actively determining what you're doing, what it's doing, what its positioning is, what you've been doing, and it's assessing, you know, based on your health, based on your distance, based on...
It's such a fine needle to thread between doing something with like the AI for a boss that makes it to where it feels gamey and input ready.
The best example I can give for that is alien isolation, I think. The alien knows exactly where you are, but they made the AI in a way that the alien will try to find you, like in a sense. You know? But if you stay still in a place, the alien will eventually find you, but it won't do it instantly. I think that is the best AI I've ever seen in a game, at least from what I experienced. It's really hard to figure that out. If they're able to nail that, that is gonna be the best Dark Souls game ever made. Super hard to do that. Because if you go on this side, it will be just straight up input read all the time. If you go this side, the boss is just gonna be brain dead. You have to hit it right on its nail.
Versus
so hard to pull that
making it
off.
feel like it's actually rewarding and more...
If they're able to pull that off, I would give that game a 10 out of 10. I will never give any game a 10 out of 10. But if they can make an AI that is that smart, I would give that game a 10 out of 10 because that is just straight up game changing. Like it's just the next generation, straight up. Next innovation, next invention at that point. An AI that's really alive.
Difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so hard to be able to get that right.
All these
insanely hard.
What its next move.
I think it's eventually will get there because of the machine learning and how better the AIs are getting. It will get there, but it's going to take a long time.
Move should be.
I don't think this game is going to pull that off straight up.
It learns very, very quickly. So when you back away, for instance, to heal, it can determine that you're going to do that. It knows your health is low. It knows you're going to try and back away and heal. So if you try and create separation, it's just going to fling its weapon at you and hit you. And
no. I think this is like a buzzword, but all it's doing, from what I'm seeing, is input reading.
And then if you try and heal again real quick, it's just going to do it again. It knows what you're trying to do. And so you really have to like get behind a pillar to heal, or you kind of have to.
I will play it. I will play it and then see. Because in Wukong, there is a scenario. I think I can show it to you. As soon as I tried to heal, that boss just instantly broke it out of his combo and then hit me out of the heal.
The AI is really good. So generally what this means...
I also think that like I approach a type of style like this with a tremendous amount of skepticism. Because oftentimes, like, you guys know that, like, for Ishin, for example, if you heal far enough away from him, you can mirror key counter him, and you can force him into that move that ends the fight faster, right?
No, I don't can't comment on this because Ishin never did that to me, ever.
Right?
So
you can
I
turn
don't know.
input reading into a like a crutch.
Creative director.
No, I think it's not a crutch. He is kind of wording it wrong. That you can make input read, it's Achilles heel. That's the best way you can say it. Yeah.
Said to me while I was
you
fighting
can bait them.
that
exactly.
The boss fights kind of end up on extreme difficulty being more like a fighting game, where if you're playing on like the very hard difficulty of a fighting game,
this kind of looks interesting.
Fighter
this
or
fight
something like that.
I wonder how well the optimization is gonna be, and if they put Dino on it, fuck you for that. Once again, because the Final Fantasy completely got ruined by Dino. So fuck you. Once again.
AI can kind of anticipate what you're gonna do.
From what I'm seeing, this looks like nice. The boss has way more movement than Wukong's boss.
And you have to get better in order to beat it, and that's really what I had to do in order to successfully pull off these boss fights. And what I kind of realized was that I was relying too much.
I'll tell you this. If I look at the way these monsters fight, the animations feel very good. Like, to me, like, I'm all about, like, moment-to-moment, second-to-second gameplay.
Yeah, it seems like you're not hitting a rock. In Wukong, every boss you fight, it feels like you're hitting a rock.
This looks incredibly well designed.
On parrying, I wasn't dodging enough. I was using my dodge too much defensively, and then I started using my dodge or kind of shadow step to move offensively. So I would start dodging through the attack and attacking the boss. And the boss didn't seem to be able to know what to do with that as much because it's reading a dodge. And I think it thinks that when you're dodging out of an attack rather than towards an attack.
Yeah.
And that worked out really well for me. And after I kind of put that together, I was able to successfully take down that boss. But it was very, very challenging. The last boss, I don't know how many times I died on in extreme mode. It was like, I want to say 15 times on that boss. I died a lot. And if you look at my playtime and deaths for the hard mode.
That's like super low. That's the average time you die to an easy boss in Elden Ring.
Mode. Versus the extreme mode, you'll notice.
I mean, you think about that, that's really kind of a lot because if you look at the way that, like, I mean, because this guy played it before. So it's like if you already know the mechanics and you're still getting killed that many times, that ain't a lot. Yeah, it is. I think dying 15 times to a boss that you've already fought before that's a pretty good amount. Especially also, like, I mean, this guy, he's played, like, how many times do you think he's played Elden Ring, right? And Dark Souls? That's a lot. I think that a lot of times people try to, like, a big mistake that I think a lot of devs make, especially the ones that are making Souls-like games, is that they try to design the game for people that have played every single one of these games. I think if you do that, you create a target audience that's very narrow.
Yeah, biggest mistake. That's gonna suck. What's the best Dark Souls game they did that? I think about its flaws, I think Jedi Survivor is a good idea. You know, it is a Souls-like, but you can just roll the difficulty, you know? What other game is pretty good on that one? I think Lies of P is kind of decent.
So you should, like, Wukong.
Wulong, man. Straight up. Wulong's difficulty spikes really well.
I think is so successful and so good because... So you should, like, Wukong, I think, is so successful and so good because...
Complete bullshit. Totally wrong. 100%. Like the green guy. I'm stuck there for 3 hours and I pretty much played every Dark Souls game. Fuck that guy.
The combat...
It was miserable to fight that motherfucker. Like, there is like random bosses in Wukong just completely co-stomps any other Elden Ring boss. They are way harder than Elden Ring bosses. Like, I think a freaking Erlang is way harder than Radon.
That does have a lot of depth. And if like, I'm playing through like New Game Plus 2 right now with like I think if you do that, you create a target audience that's very narrow.
Yeah.
So you should, like, Wukong, I think, is so successful and so good because the combat does have a lot of depth. And if like, I'm playing through like New Game Plus 2 right now with like the red, like the Yasuka armor, like where it makes you take more damage. And yeah, it's a lot harder to play, right? But it's more rewarding in a way too. And so it's like, you shouldn't make that.
I don't think Wukong has in-depth combat.
Yeah.
It took me over double the time to finish, and I had like over triple the deaths. So it is definitely much, much harder.
I don't think so. Wukong doesn't have that in
his team, they were telling me that the average person playing this demo would get through in about an hour with about 50 plus deaths.
Wow.
I managed to do quite a bit better than that. I have obviously played this a little bit before,
so
that
played the
gave
game.
me an advantage.
Yeah.
But that is a lot of deaths and a lot of game time for 3 bosses in a very small area of the game to explore, to give you some idea of how difficult this is going to be. Anyway,
I mean, it is a Souls like it kind of plays like Wulong. I really hope they nail the parry. Because I would enjoy this game if the parry is good, but I would fucking mauled out if the parry is dog shit.
Mode, it was seriously rewarding when I would beat bosses, but it could also be frustrating. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because I actually started playing through again on the extreme mode.
My VTuber friends do not like to die to the same boss like 20 times. You know?
Time to see how I did.
They just quit. They quit Wukong because they couldn't fight the fucking snake dude. I think they quit after that. They did beat him, but they quit after that.
Because of the way the AI is designed, like each time you fight a boss, it's not always going to be the same because it's reacting in real time.
They just don't like it. It's annoying.
The boss's strategy changes and the attacks that it might do might be different. So I started playing the second playthrough, and when I got to the second boss, I really
understand how bad they're coming from,
through, which I didn't.
I think that's something that's really interesting and really good because it's one of the things that I think Elden Ring does extremely.
Wait, what's that?
Because of the way the AI is designed, like each time you fight a boss, it's not always going to be the same because it's reacting in real time to what you're doing. So if your strategy changes, the boss's strategy changes, and the attacks that it might do might be different. So I started playing through on a second playthrough, and when I got to the second boss, I really struggled with the second boss on the second time through, which I didn't.
I think that's something that's really interesting and really good because it's one of the things that I think Elden Ring does extremely well. Is that there's some bosses, and it's not really about like AI input reading. It's about the way that the boss is designed and the different challenges that different builds have and how like basically different they are between bosses. Like, for example, if you're playing a melee bonk build, Renala is really easy. But if you're playing a caster build, you're going to have a bad time. Or
Renala will fuck you up.
Fighting like Margit, right? Like a caster build is way easier. So I think that's really, really good because it adds replayability to the game.
It's way easier no matter what if you're good at parrying, you know?
In my first playthrough of Extreme, because the strategy that I was trying to employ that I had learned on the final boss was not working.
I wonder how bad, that's also a problem. This is a double-edged sword because the boss can counter any build they have. It would be frustrating for someone to have a build and then just completely got countered and then they try another build, looking at a guide or something in the YouTube, and then they just fight the boss again and then the boss still curve stomps you, they will just quit the game, you know? I think if a consumer that could fail to finish your game, that means your game is a failure, in my opinion, because it's like a movie. Like comparing to a movie, if a movie fails to grasp the attention of the freaking viewer, that means that movie is bad, right? That goes with the same way, not through the difficulty or anything. I don't care. But if the game fails to grab the player's attention till the game is over, I think the game is a failure. You know, this build cuck they're coming up with might do that.
On that boss, and I had to like.
That means none of the builds are viable, right? Basically, any build you can make, the boss
Kind of,
will
Yeah, like,
counteract
I'm gonna
you.
say like
that I had
this is
learned
really smooth. Watch this.
on the final boss was not working on that
That's extremely fucking clean. I'm really impressed by this.
boss, and I had to like kind of go back to the strategy I was using before, and I was trying to remember what exactly that was.
Combat looks great.
It was
it does.
really tough. I ended up dying a lot more times the second time, so I definitely think it's going to be kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, this looks like a game. Yeah, it kind of plays like
It could
Wulong.
be very, very frustrating, but it can also be really, really fun.
Like the combat is very fast, man.
There you are.
Yeah.
Again,
I also think that like one thing, this is a minor thing. I think that being able to jump over attacks. I don't know if this game has a base jump, but you should be able to jump over attacks because I feel like it feels really good to be able to do that. Yeah, like
I think that sounds like good enough there in the movies, maybe, but in real time combat, I kind of don't like it because it kind of breaks out of the flow of combat for me. Nobody in the freaking ever in the history, I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. In the middle of the combat, I don't think they jump unless they are kung fu fighter like Jet Li or Bruce Lee, you know? Hand to hand combat, maybe, but I don't know. I just don't like it. Like Sekiro also wants you to do it. I'm just fuck you, you know. That's how I feel like when the game asks me to jump. But it is a good thing though. But I wish there is both. You can either jump or parry or dodge. Like give us options. Not every attack has to be specific. You have to jump.
I wish they had that because it's cool. Like Super Mario, yeah.
Thankfully, you don't have to play this
like
difficulty
Wukong
mode.
and
This
Elden
is
Ring has that.
after beating the game, so most people
Sekiro
probably
has like
won't
the
play it,
like
because I
the
imagine
down
most people
sweep
will
and
probably
shit.
play
Yeah.
through on normal or hard, and
Yeah.
I don't know how many people will play it
Obnoxious
again
to
after
deal
that on
with.
extreme. Obviously, the hardcore
If you
players.
want people to play the hard mode, what you have to do is you have to add in like different types of like mechanics and armor and things like that that you can get from playing hard mode. Like Wukong has like a lot of extra things that you can only get in New Game Plus, so it gives you a new reason to continue playing the game. Like beating the game one time should not be the end of the game. Yeah, like Neo Wulong. I don't know about those two. I played Wulong, but I never did New Game Plus. But yeah, it's really important. I'll be right back.
Wait, what?
But yes, I think that really for games that want to have a New Game Plus, you have to allow the player to like unlock new things or unlock cooler things by doing like the harder mode. I think Final Fantasy 16 tried to do this, but it didn't really commit to it enough.
Will, but I don't think that's the majority of people playing this game. So that kind of wraps up my video on Phantom Blade's extreme difficulty. I'm really, really enjoying this game. The more I see from it, the better it's getting. I cannot wait
I
for
want
it
to
come
play
out. I'll
this.
leave you here with a couple of side-by-side videos of the boss fights
Yeah.
on the hard difficulty versus the extreme difficulty, so you can see kind of the differences in the boss fights with no commentary, and you can just watch those. But otherwise, I want to know what you guys make of the game so far. What do you make of the extreme difficulty? What do you make of the gameplay that you're seeing? I feel like the combat in extreme difficulty is just so much fun to watch. It's probably a little bit less flashy than on hard because you're playing a lot more defensively, but I still think it looks wicked when you watch it and you're watching back your gameplay going like, wow,
I think it's
really
fine.
able to do those things. But I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below.
I think
the
good
game is
players will
decent.
still be able to play aggressively in that mode. Like, I'm sure that,
Oh,
like, 2
yeah.
days after this game comes out, there's going to be the Ong Ball, like, extreme difficulty, no-hit kill of these bosses.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. I think they move a little bit faster in the extreme mode, too.
Yeah.
That's the way it
looks like
feels.
They're way faster.
The Sekiro knockoff seems fantastic. Yeah, no, this is good, man. I think also
don't
being
think
able
it's
to
a Sekiro
stun lock
knockoff.
bosses is probably a big difference between the extreme and like the hard mode too, it seems. Because they're just so aggressive.
Yeah, I don't think they get stunned at all. They just continue.
Looks nothing like Sekiro. Well, there's a guy, and he has a sword, and it looks like it's like a Asian theme, so it's Sekiro. There it is, right? I mean, everybody knows that. It's red, just like the Mortal Blade. What do you expect? Yeah, it's Sekiro too. Yeah, just look at it.
Sekiro is better than others.
Sekiro's more popular. It's Sekiro. Yeah.
I don't think it looks like Sekiro. Maybe, does it look like Sekiro? Is it? I mean, it's close. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's like a mix of all of them. Like Sekiro, you don't have really multiple weapon choices and stuff. So, you know. Jesus Christ. Really fast-paced combat. I hope the optimization is good.
The enemies have a posture bar, bro. How's it not Sekiro? Yeah, Lost Ark is pretty much just Sekiro. That's true.
Ha! Yeah, I think he's being sarcastic. I mean, I can see it has Sekiro elements, but it's not Sekiro.
It's actually crazy how aggressive these things are.
Yeah, they're fucking fast.
I'm gonna be kind of curious to see how this will play.
Yeah,
and I wonder
that's my
also,
concern.
like, if I end up playing the extreme mode, I wonder if it's gonna actually be hard or not. But I think it's such an interesting idea. Like, there's just more combat here. It's such an interesting idea to make it to where the combat. I'll link you guys the video if you want to watch the rest of it or like look at the actual combat, etc. This is a yeah, FX Drive still exists. Yeah, this was a great video. Like, he made another video about this game too, and I thought both of them were really
I think
good.
they are very skilled. FX for Live, even though the only problem I seen about them doing is the embed bullshit, right? But I think they are very dedicated. Like, from what I'm seeing, the content
So,
they
yeah, I
have
hope
are
he keeps
insane.
doing it. Like, this is
The
great.
in-depth bullshit they have are
Yeah, it's a good
insane.
impression so far. Yeah, I think so too. I really think this game is looking really appealing to me. Like, I've said this before, like, any time that there's an action combat game with swords, or really any action combat game, like, I'll probably play it. I feel like I've done that. Have I missed any of them? I guess I didn't play Rise of the Ronin, but that's because another game came out at the exact same time. I forgot which one it was. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Neo, Tsushima. I did not play Ghost of Tsushima. That's the one I didn't play. Yeah, Neo, Dragon's Dogma 2. Oh, I didn't play Dragon's Dogma 2? I didn't know that. Yeah, I had no idea. So I didn't play the game. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Stellar Blade? I played Stellar Blade. What do you mean? Yeah, Rise of the Ronin. That's the one that I didn't do. Thymesia, did you play that? No, it didn't really look that good.
I don't think it's in the PC.
A moderately polished Souls ripoff. And so I decided not to play it. I saw Chance played it, and he had...
What did he do?
Yeah, Rise of the Ronin. That's the one that I didn't do. Thymesia, did you play that? No, it didn't really look that good. It just looked like a moderately polished Souls ripoff. And so I decided not to play it. I saw Chance played it, and he had a, I think, relatively good opinion of it. But I think that the game... There's a lot of the guys that tried to make, like, for example, like Lords of the Fallen, Bleak Faith, Thymesia... All of these games, I think, had something to them, but none of them really had a identity beyond, like, just being kind of like a Souls-like game. And I think that these are guys that I'm, like, really excited to see what their third, maybe their second, third, and maybe even fourth project is going to be. Because I think that, like, all of those games were very, very promising, but you got to see more. Right? Like, it wasn't there, but it was in the direction of being there, right? Lies of P. I actually think Lies of P is a great example of that. Lies of P was... There were a lot of things...
I think that is the best. I think I did say Wulong was pretty good on that scenario, but Lies of P is up there too. I like them both. I mean, I hated some of the bosses in Lies of P, but Wulong, all of them are super good. Like, Jesus Christ, that combat is just chef's kiss, dude. I had so much fun in that combat.
I didn't like.
Like, Lies of P is just plays like it's a Dark Souls 1.
Lies of P, but Lies of P was a game that innovated on the Souls-like genre in a way that was actually good. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
that like their new expansion or DLC, and I think they're
I think that Liza P, I think I will give it. I think the most polished would probably go for Wulong. I think the best mainstream Souls-like game is Liza P, straight up. None of them even able to top that. Like in terms of polish, in terms of story, in terms of gameplay, in terms of how well it ran, everything is Liza P, straight up.
new game. I'm super excited to play it because like I feel like the only thing that I didn't like about Lies of P is I felt like there was too much like gimmicks with
Dog shit
bosses.
bosses. Yeah,
And
dog shit boss.
I didn't like that. I thought it made the game not fun for me. But visually was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it was a really great idea. Camera was an issue sometimes, but that was it. Input reading, yeah, and it was also like, for example, there were like animation things, what gimmicks. For example, like there was a boss that would go off screen and then hit you. And then there was another boss that had an overhead, like the swamp boss, I remember, had like 4 or 5 different overhead smashes that all had different parry timings.
Yeah, that Swamp Monster is fucking cancer, dude. I fucking hated that fight.
And I felt like that type of challenge wasn't really very fun.
I think there is another issue with that Swamp Monster. It goes into the ground and then it comes out and hits you. But there is zero tell for that at all. Like it's so mild, you can't even see it. It's so janky and it's so annoying to deal with.
Especially considering like when you're looking at like basically delay attacks with pretty much no time to react, you just have to memorize the timing. I feel like playing against something like that doesn't really feel like, I don't feel like I'm getting better as a player. I feel like I'm just learning how to beat that boss. Whereas like if I beat a boss like Slave Knight Gale or like Ishin, I feel like I've become better as a player because I've learned how to use the tools that are given to me in a more effective way that's more holistic than just learning timings for bosses. And so that's why I don't really like delay attacks in games. Why does no one hold Elden Ring to these standards? Because the bosses that have delay attacks in Elden Ring are pretty easy. And also, I did, by the way, like I said that some of the bosses in like the Elden Ring DLC I thought were problematic, and a lot of people didn't like some of the bosses in Elden Ring.
I think some of the bosses in Elden Ring are dog shit. None of the bosses are good. Like all of the bosses are giga two-shot you, and then they annihilate your ass, never stops attacking. It's just unfun to fight in the DLC. Like it's just dog shit. Like as soon as you reach the fucking first gale, like the ghost gale, that night guy will just two-shot you. Like what? And he has the crossbow ability he has. He just straight up one-shot you. Even with this full HP bar, even with the heaviest armor, fucking dog shit, dude. Straight up, everything just has a higher number. That's pretty much it. You know?
Yeah, so that's the reason why.
I think this guy should record about the games he is playing off screen and then put it on YouTube or something because he talks big game about Ishin and other bosses, but we never see him fight that, you know? So, I don't know. How am I trust your opinion when I never seen you fight that
That's
boss?
a From Software experience. You as a player improves. Yeah, and so I have a lot of opinions about that in terms of like how boss design is made. And that's why I'm really glad to see this game here, because I don't think that this game follows through with a lot of those problems. Like, I don't really see a lot of delay attacks. Like, if you look at these animations, these are fluid animations that would make sense.
If you want to delay the attacks, go play Wukong's Erlang. Holy shit! That guy just fucking attacks like a fucking bubblegum.
For a person to move.
Jesus.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, this guy is pretty fast.
Like, it's not like he's...
There is one delay attack. That one
You
is
see
delayed.
what I'm saying?
Like that backward swinging from the top.
Like,
see that? That is a delay
it's
right
not
there.
like he's holding his attack or doing anything like that. The Gaius was the worst. Yeah, I mean, like, my build one-shot him, but that's because I was just, like, you know, playing something that was broken. So, yeah.
Commander Gaius, I don't think... I mean, he is kind of hates, but I don't have much trouble with him.
Torrents have fallen.
Okay.